Victoria Underground Station. That's your stop here. This is called Victoria. On your right, that's what Victoria used to look like as a young lady. Okay. Stay. Fine. Now, this building on your right is Google.com. These are the London headquarters of Google.com. Does anybody remember the days when if you didn't know something, you had to get a book and look it up? No? Does anybody not know what that means? Yes. Yes.
One seat.
Okay.
How many of you are there? I'll leave him downstairs. Have a seat.
Don't mind. Now, round the corner on the right is a part of London called Belgravia, and this is where all the multi-millionaires live. Round the corner you have the house of Roman Abramovich, you have the former homes of Roger Moore, Sean Connery. Stop ringing the bell! Ian Fleming. High Court judges. Now everything on your right belongs to one man, the richest man in London, who is called the Duke of Westminster. Since 1823, there's been 7 Duke of Westminsters. The current Duke of Westminster is the richest man in London. He is worth £10.5 billion. What did he do? What did he do to deserve the money? Nothing. He was born into the right family. He lives round the corner, and he married last year.
Sorry. We married last week.
I wouldn't marry him for his money, seriously. So, round the corner, that's where the Duke of Westminster lives. Have a look on your right, and these are the Victorian houses, 200 years old. And if you've ever heard the phrase upstairs, downstairs, this is where it comes from. Because 200 years ago, downstairs is where the servants were, because that's where the kitchens were. Upstairs is where the masters of the house was. And can you see right at the top where the windows are very small? That's where the children were kept 200 years ago. And the children were looked after by a governess or a nanny. And in those days, the children were allowed to come down and see their mum and dad for 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes. How about that, everybody? 5 minutes a day with your children. Good idea, yes?
No.
No? Children, 5 minutes a day with your mum and dad. Good idea or bad idea?
No.
Bad idea. Good idea.
Good idea. You can't say that. Oh, I know what you mean. 5 minutes a day. Far too long. Good idea or bad idea? An Xbox? No, 200 years ago. Do you really think they had Xboxes 200 years ago? No.
Trying to fill the time.
They didn't have TV in those days. In fact, they probably didn't even have flushing toilets. So what they used to do... No, I better not tell you. There's too many children here.
I know.
What?
Now, what they used to do, they used to pour them out over the roof, and used to have sloping roofs, and that's why men started walking on the outside, because if you were standing on the inside, that meant your head got covered with mess. But if men were standing on the outside, that meant their head was more likely to get covered with mess. And that was the tradition of men always walking with their women, their wives or their girlfriends, on the outside. Sorry, I know too much. Now, don't stand up here, whatever you do, or you'll get a hairstyle like me. Now, this is where, if you're ever coming with us to Golden Tours, Windsor Bath, Stonehenge, Oxford, Cambridge, Leeds Castle, Dover Castle, Warwick Castle, or even the making of Harry Potter, join us here. This is where we believe from. It's a hidden area of London, and that's why we take you in here, because very few people can find it. If you're ever coming with us, it's called Brilliant Way, and it's to the left of Victoria Station. Good. Now, in front of you, you can see Belgravia. The white building is the London home, the childhood home in London of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. That's where Mozart, the famous composer, used to live for a year. Did I tell you about the window tax earlier? Yeah, okay. Now, this is where Mozart used to live for a year. The rest of the time, he used to live in a part of London called Soho. You've all heard of Soho, yes? Soho is where Henry VIII used to hunt lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, deers and wolves. And as he used to go hunting, he used to cry out, Soho! Soho is a hunting cry. If you're hunting foxes, you shout out tally-ho. Anything else? Soho. That's why that part of London is called Soho. Does that make sense? Yes? 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 If it doesn't, you'll soon forget it. So remember, whenever you go to that part of London in future, you never say Soho, you say Soho, like that. People like stare at you as you go mad, so if you just run the bell, don't worry, we'll be stopping next to the London Line. You've missed the stop, and we don't care. So, as we come round, the Grosvenor Gardens are on your right. If you do see the dog, on your right is the pink dog. Obviously it wasn't pink in real life, the dog, the Queen's dog. On your right are the huts covered with shells of Normandy. On your right, the hand is depicting British Sign Language, our way of communicating with the deaf. And if you look to the right, you'll see the Goring Hotel. Older people, this is where Kate Middleton stayed 11 years ago before the marriage of Prince Charles, before her marriage to Prince William. Younger people look for the flag of the Ukraine. It's the only hotel in London to still be owned by the people who built it. The Goring family, 1910, the German Goring family still own this building. By the way, do you know what Germany has given us? The Christmas tree, the Christmas card, and Prince Albert gave us the Royal Albert Hall, the Science Museum, the Natural History Museum, and the Victorian Albert. Now, on your left is a South African statue of a lioness chasing a gazelle, just there. Now, when the lioness catches the gazelle, she'll take it back to her husband, the greedy lion, who gets to eat first, and we call that the lion share. Isn't it appropriate that our heroine women footballers